If you told me that we would have to do VS Code, Power Apps, Canvas apps from VS Code 3 years ago, I'll probably tell you were joking.
We had to do pack CLI, unpack it, pack it again, then push it back. I'm just like, what's the meaning of all this? Why do I have to do all this?
To that point. But whenever I get to that extraction bit, it will fail. I was saying I changed my prompt, I changed my instruction, knowledge, I was changing everything. It was as simple as using Claude in one version and I tested it out. There's a version now, I have a version in my test environment that has Claude, and there's a version I use the highest GPT.
It created 13 SharePoint lists and indexed everything.
And now pro code developers are saying there are prompts that we write that we use to generate code. So what now makes a pro code developer now makes a low code developer at this point?
So Procode is the new low code.
Yeah, pro code is a new low code.
Welcome to Power Platform Deep Dive. This is a place for honest conversations about building on the Microsoft Power Platform based on real projects and real experience. I'm your host, Kayode and
And I'm your host, Annabel Komose. This show is for solution architects, it's for developers, it's for beginners, intermediates, anyone just looking to build in the Power Platform space. In this show, we share real world practical insight.
All right, that's great. Welcome to another episode. So, Annabelle, what did you find interesting in the recent weeks?
What I actually found interesting was what you showed us during code review. I know it's cheated because I'm saying what you said, but during code review, Kayode showed us the new workflow in Copilot Studio, and I blew my mind. I've still not been able to play around with it, but what I really liked is it brings a way for us to create agents that are dependent on repetitive procedures. So we're able to
Yeah,
orchestrate and architect agents that will probably need to be called repeatedly. I love the node. I love the fact that the way the drag and drop works. I love the fact that you could click a button and you could tidy it up. So there's a tidy up button. So when
yeah,
you are deep in development and you are
yeah,
dragging and dropping,
yeah.
you've forgotten what you are doing, you click a button and it makes it neat. Also, fun fact, Kayode did not mention this on code review, but I was sneaking around on other people's videos. There's a note function. So when you add a note function, you are able to add notes. So maybe you are in your Zen space of developing and you got this wonderful note you want to write, you can write it this, just type it out. You could color the note and whatever, and you could always come back to that. I also find that very interesting and nice.
Yeah,
Also, in case someone else wants to pick up the development, they would have notes that are in the workflow that they could read from. They would understand the idea you were trying to convey. So that means from one developer to another developer, it's easy for you to move to solution. I love the fact that you could integrate agents and it's almost like Power Automate where there is a trigger. So there's something that triggers it and you can add as many steps in underneath it. And there's also a way for you to make it, if you want to make it vertical or horizontal, it all
yeah,
depends on you.
yeah.
So you're able to shift and move things. I was blown away. But my only concern, which I raised, was like, what happens to Power Automate now? This is so cool that I'm like, am I really going to be going to Power Automate to build anything else? But let's see how it goes. The licensing is a bit different because this licensing is based on your Copilot credits and the rest. So I think maybe that would just be the only thing that is different or we make people want to still use Power Automate. But I found that very interesting. What about you, Kay? What did you learn? Because Kay is always learning new things.
Well,
Share with us.
to be fair, on the workflow thing, it
Yes.
blew me away when I saw it. Well, I'd seen people post about it online, but I didn't check it on my own tenant to see if I had access or anything like that. So just few minutes, about 5 minutes before a demo, before a presentation I was doing on Copilot
Yes.
Studio, unrelated to workflows, I just decided to click the tab, go to the Copilot preview website, and just saw it. And I started exploring it five
Oh,
minutes
wow.
before the
A demo.
presentation. So, but we talked about the presentation I gave about it at work, and I've not explored it much further beyond that, and I've not watched those videos that you talked about, Annabelle. So I will surely be looking at it. I think from the way I see it, it makes you think of your AI workflows as not just a single unit, but as an end-to-end workflow. So I feel
Solution,
like there's a new
yes.
kind of thinking involved in maximizing the potential of that interface. So
Yes.
digging a lot into it in the
And the
coming weeks.
fact that You could put steps, you could put a trigger, there's a step. You could add an agent in actual step. And after the AI agent has run, there are other steps. Blew my mind. So you could have a full proper end-to-end process that is not just dependent on the AI agent alone. You could do like yes or no nodes, true or false. It's amazing. I love that. But what other new stuff did you learn? What tell us what new stuff you were playing with over the week? What did you
So
find?
for me, the bit that I found really interesting in the recent weeks, and
Yes.
this just happened this last week, the
Yeah.
GitHub app, which I've been one of the people testing it, giving feedback on it before it's come out to the public. It was released for a technical preview this past week, and this is an app I've been using almost every day for the last couple of months, and it's really transformed the way I work with AI. I use some other agentic AI programming tools. And when the GitHub app came up, I kind of moved a lot of my development to the GitHub app. And over time, I've actually seen it get to a level where it is the core of a lot of the agentic programming that I do. I've used it to build loads of applications. And I've actually built something that I call a Power Platform AI toolkit with the GitHub app. I'll have that on GitHub. And basically, that just helps you to do things that you would do as part of your daily tasks as a Power Platform developer. But you can do those things using the agentic tools in the GitHub app. So, stuff like updating your DevOps tickets. Who doesn't want an AI agent to be able to do that? You can just focus on your work and get the AI agent to update your DevOps tickets. Or even when it comes to actually building the apps, the AI agent is able to do all of that for you using the Power Platform AI toolkit and a couple of what the Power Platform AI toolkit that I'm talking about is just a bunch of tools, basically, bunch of tools, bunch of agent skills, bunch of MCPs that all come together that are relevant to Power Platform developer. So it's something that I'm actively building and using. Just before this recording, I actually built a Power Apps, a very simple Power App. There's a more complex one that is kind of running in the background even as we are recording now.
Speaking.
So, but it's just amazing. I could just give instructions to the AI agent and they go ahead and build it. And well, obviously, I can still go in there and refine. And the good thing is, it's all Power App stuff. So it's all the same Canvas app things that we used to do. So you can interact with it much better. Maybe later on, I'll show something about it. But I think that's where I'll stop now. But I've really found it very
Interesting.
especially for the pro code stuff. I've built lots of apps that I'm using on my computer right now. And for the low code stuff, also, it's able to augment some of the things I do as part of my day to day activities. So, for
Sounds cool.
have you tried your hands on any of these agentic AI tools? Maybe what's this one, this popular one, this co-work guys, what are their names?
No, because of the core cloud
Claude.
restrict.
So have you done
Yeah.
Claude? Have you used Claude? Have you
No.
used Codex?
I've used it. I think more than half of us now use Codex to write our codes. So
Yeah.
that's one way that we all just cheap. Or I don't, let me not generalize, but most developers, the moment we found Codex, were like, we're just gonna play with this.
Yeah.
Use Codex. Not played with the co-work only yet because of the cloud limitation there.
Yeah.
But I really like the introduction of pro code into our space now because it's almost as if it solidifies us as real developers
Mm,
because we are now doing heavy lifting.
Well, to be fair, I don't know so much about
I'm
bringing
still
pro code into the world of low code, and that's what our conversation is today, really. When low code meets,
code. Yes.
that's really what we want to talk about. Or is it pro code that is meeting low code now? So,
But
do you think the lines between low code and pro code is beginning to blur, or is there segmentation, or are we going to have a future where a low code developer can also say, I do pro code?
yeah, I think I would not say the lines are blurring, but what I would say is that we are merging and evolve. Yes, I think that's the word. Low code has evolved from what it was before. Low code before was just drag and drop. We still do drag and drop now, but now it's enhanced with the introduction of pro code functionalities, with the introduction of multiple AI tools, introduction of even picking up ALM and VS Code. Now we are building Power Apps from VS Code. If you told me that we would have to do VS Code, Power Apps, Canvas apps from VS Code 3 years ago, I'll probably tell you were joking. But
Yeah.
like, what it does is that we get to have the best of both worlds. And I think in 3 years, I'm just trying to figure out, like, 3 years time, what would low code now be called? 3 years time, what would the definition of low code have evolved? Because currently, low code is building without writing a single line of code.
Yeah.
If you really look at it, we're still building without code because we get to tell agents to do it and we get to monitor it, but we are stealing ideas from pro code. We are taking the ALM version in, because before, what we would have done would be export an application, export a solution, import it. But now we are making sure we are doing proper ALM process. We're
Mm.
deploying using pipelines. We are posting and doing pull and push requests on GitHub repository. And it's good. It's what Procore developers have been doing for years. And we get to reap that benefit. So are the lines blurring? No, I think it's still distinct. What we are doing is different from what a Procore developer is doing. It's just that we are now able to take some of the pro code, let me say, tools and pro code features that we see and we've admired, and we're like, why don't we add it to what we are currently doing and make the low code so much better? So that's why I'm saying I don't see it as a line blurring. I see it as an enhancement of low code. What about you? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I'll say that's a very good point that you just said, that it's not necessarily blurring, but the local developers are now beginning to use pro code tools.
Yes.
And I'll say one thing that has prevented that from happening before is quite intimidating. That's just the fact. It's very intimidating. As for a local developer, bringing up VS Code, seeing all those lines of code. I remember when I joined an organization and they told me that we had to do pack CLI to get solutions, to pull the solution down from Power Apps, unpack it, pack it again, then push it back. I'm just like, what's the meaning of all this? Why do I have to do all this? Can't I just export it, click on export on the UI, and just put it on GitHub or something like that? It just felt so intimidating. But now I can easily do that because I could just, and I was telling you the other day of how much free will the agent has on my personal tenant because it's authenticated as me and it has a lot of powers that it can use to do stuff. But it's no longer intimidating for me because a lot of times all that it just needs is my authentication. It just says, "Who are you?" It signs into my account, and I could just literally say, "Go and do this," and it does it. I go and create a SharePoint site. This is why I want to be there. I want this list to be there. I want these columns to be there, and it just goes ahead and does it. Just before this recording, I was doing something and I said, "Well, go on SharePoint." It understood the requirements that I wanted, and it identified the columns that needed to be indexed so that I don't have issues with the Power App later on in the future. And it went ahead and indexed those columns for me. Now, it created 13 SharePoint lists with lots of columns and indexed everything that was relevant, that needed to be indexed for me. That saved me several hours because if I was to do that manually, I'll have to click a whole lot over different screens. So, but I was able to do that using app registration, using CLI, but I didn't actually write any of those code. I was just more like a reviewer to make sure that the agent is doing what I wanted it to be. So now I feel like local developers are able to use Proco tools because worst case, if you don't know what to do, you just tell the agent, I don't know what to do. And he goes ahead and says, go ahead, do that, and you get your answer. So I think earlier on I was thinking maybe the lines are beginning to blur, but it's not really blurring because Proco is still a local
Still a
developer.
local
It
developer.
just means that now you can do more Procode things. And to be fair, Procode ways and systems, they are usually the better ways and systems. Low code is a bit loose because, well, we want to keep it simple. Now we can still keep it simple,
Yes.
but still do the
Make
right
it secure.
things. Exactly.
Even the security part of it is actually good because we make it secure, we make it scalable. Because now we are now building systems with right foundations.
Yeah.
We are still building local system, but I'm trying to find there's a word, the principle. We are using the principles from pro code to make
Yeah.
low code so
Yeah.
much better. And I think it's a new and better era because the quality of work we will be delivering. It's not
Yeah.
like it wasn't good, but now it's going to be like 10x.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next question. Do you think adding ALM and source control to Power Platform project has actually made things better, or is it just like adding an extra overhead to things?
So that's a very good question. And I would say that's a very real question. And it has always been the dream. Well, especially for people whose brains are activated when we're talking about pro code things. A lot of people like that, they've seen how good GitHub is. And for a long time, there had been that gap in low code solutions or say, Power Platform solutions. We were all excited when Power Platform introduced that option to make a solution, to tie a solution to a GitHub repository, basically. But even that one still fell short in some of the requirements that was very necessary or to make it seamless. I think it's just been the seamless story, making it seamless. The Power Platform developers or the people building the actual system, they've went the right direction of including the ability for you to connect a solution to a GitHub repository. But the experience was still not seamless. And that's why you find that in a lot of places, they don't actually use the inbuilt one. The ones who want ALM using GitHub, they go ahead and do something custom that is not really built into the platform. So, is he a blessing? Is he a burden? I'll say it's a blessing because, and especially now that we're talking about AI doing a lot of things, right? We've heard of stories that says, well, AI deleted the production, deleted all the source code. If you have good ALM, that's you would worst case is you will be able to recover it. But
Yes.
if you don't have that, say you've connected your Power Apps MCP agent, you've connected it to your app and it's making some changes and it goes ahead and delete loads of stuff. Now, if that solution is not GitHub backed, you'll find it difficult. Well, there's some form of version control already, so maybe you rely on that. But you may find yourself in a situation where it's difficult to find out what the agent has done to kind of cherry pick. So rather than restoring a previous version, if you have GitHub, you can probably find what are the exact changes that were made and just remove those changes rather than changing the whole thing. So it's a blessing. It's still not seamless, but it's more accessible because if you have your agent workflows, and I feel like lots of organizations that build power apps will start seeing ways of infusing agents as part of their workflow. So right now we have a completely manual workflow where you go as a developer from start, you start on the blank app and you start building everything. But over time, and I'm sure lots of organizations are already having these discussions of how to infuse AI naturally in that workflow such that your quality is still maintained because we don't just want it to be AI slop and generic and not meeting the requirements. So we want to make sure the quality is still maintained, but developers can spend more time making sure that all the features are delivered promptly. And hopefully, we'll get to a situation where your estimates initially will be your estimate
At the
because
end.
it's almost a normal thing these days where projects tend to run over. And why do they run over? Maybe because you were spending time on one thing or you were focused on one thing. Sometimes you get in that zone and there's just this little feature that you want to
So
make perfect. Meanwhile, you're supposed to spend time on so many other things. But when we have workflows that are AI infused, hopefully some of those things we can delegate to AI and just review at the end of the day to make sure that everything goes according to plan. So back to the question, I believe it's a blessing. Source control is very useful. AI makes it more accessible for local developers. And that leads me to the next question. What's the trickiest thing about building agentic solutions? Have you built an agentic solution or have you seen demos about agentic solutions? Have you tried any of the MCP servers or, well, earlier we talked about Claude, which you said you had
yes.
some restrictions around accessing. But have you tried any form of agentic development? And what do
So
you
I
think
think
about it?
I like your question because like, what's the trickiest thing about building agentic solution with all this new stuff? And I think one thing with all this new stuff is the fundamental is knowing what to use and why. You have to have the understanding of what is a MCP server first. I know people just like to throw it around, but like you need to understand what a MCP server is and when should pick it. So I've built some agentic solutions and all different solution I've actually had to build. I had to understand the architecture because it's not just about building, it's about knowing what you are working with. So do you need a prompt for this step or do you need a MCP server? And there's actually a totally different between a Power Platform connector and using an MCP server. So if you the AB620, it's a exam that Microsoft has in beta, and they speak beautifully about connecting agents and using the different ones. Is that they explain we have Microsoft Foundry agent, we have doing Azure AI search, we've got MCP server, we have Copilot, we have Power Platform connectors. When do we need each and every one of them? We have
Yeah, even
prompt.
CLIs.
Yes. So if you don't even know that, like, oh, if I just need to do a simple API call once, I probably should just add a custom connector to do the API. If I know that in this step, we're just going to do an API call, let us do a custom connector. If it's just a simple get or a simple post, or uh, does the step I want to do now, does that have a MCP server that has been exposed that I could just connect to and do that particular step? And first of all, before I start thinking of using Claude, because I created a HR resume reader agent. And so what it does was people can upload, send their CV via emails. And when the CV is sent via email, automatically the agent picks it from the mailbox, it processes the mail, opens the file, and based on specific information I've given it, I told it what to look out for, what certifications to look out for, what criterias, experience. Did the person mention key job titles? For example,
Yeah,
the job title you mentioned in your CV, is that what we are looking for? When it has gone through and finished reading that, then it will score the candidate based on the metric we've already previously stated. When it scored the candidate, if a candidate did not get up to the particular amount, automatically just send them a warm, polite message telling them that they're not moving on to the right stage at this point.
unfortunately.
Yes. But if they get to the bandwidth we want, bring a human in the loop. And so send it to a human, let the human review it, and the person moves to the next stage. I say this to say that HR resume reader, when I saw it, I was like, yes, I'm going to recreate this. When I was recreating it, I found out that my own agent was always failing at the point where it got the CV. And I was
Right.
like, what is the problem? So it will get the CV, but whenever it was time for it to process the CV, it could not process the CV. The demo I watched, huge shout out to Pragmatic Works, because this was a Pragmatic Works demo
Uh,
I watched and I recreated. In the demo that Pragmatic Works did, the model they used was Claude. It was like Claude 5.6, if I'm not mistaken. And so Claude is able to actually get into the CV document, any document the person upload, and extract those informations. And so I built my complete agent, and I was like, why was my
Right.
own failing? Because I did not know that the environment I was building on had restrictions and I could not use Claude. So when I went to my developer environment, there was no restriction. I can use Claude. So I enabled Claude and it was working seamlessly. I'm not joking. I spent hours because I was like,
Right.
maybe because they were prompts, the prompts were
So
doing extraction.
everything was the same,
I
right?
followed exact step. So
Yeah.
you can imagine.
Yeah.
I sat down one Saturday morning, listened to pragmatic work video, followed the exact step from beginning till the end, and I was testing my own. And what's funny is that it will run up to that point, but whenever I get to that extraction bit, it will fail. I was saying I changed my prompt, I changed my instruction, knowledge. I was changing everything. At a point, I went to the video. I said maybe I'm missing something. I was watching it minute by minute. I did not miss any step. It was as simple as using Claude in one version, and I tested it out. There's a version now. I have a version in my test environment that has Claude, and there's a version I use the highest GPT. And it's something as simple as that. Knowing that, oh, when I need document extraction, because the issue I was getting in with GPT was GPT was saying, they were saying, oh, it's not able to extract this data from the document because it's not getting the document in the format it wants. It does not know where the information is. It just the Claude is just going to the Outlook and literally I
Getting the
submitted different
files.
formats.
Yeah.
I submitted different templates, and Claude is like, even if you put the name at the last part of the page, it knows as a name. That's how smart he was. And so if I had not known that, like, why don't I change the model? It's understanding what are the weak and strength of each model first.
Yeah.
MCP saver that we're talking about, before you now connect to a MCP saver, that action you want to carry out, would it be a simple HTTP request? Is that what you just need to do? Before you connect to this Harvest MCP saver or connect to an external MCP saver, is it just a simple HTTP request? Is it just one action? Or do you have a Microsoft Foundry model that you just want to call on your agent?
Yeah.
And that Microsoft Foundry agent model is able to do the heavy lifting. Getting to GitHub Copilot, are we going to extend it further? Are we even going to ensure that the ALM process that we're doing, that our agents were actually doing, we are versioning it correctly? We are making sure that we every publish we are doing, we have the correct version on GitHub, because we could start on GitHub and we could not continue. We could decide, we could say, oh yeah, we tried to do push and pull. But when was the last time you did a push or you
Yeah.
did a pull request? When was so like it's knowing that, like, even knowing the importance of this thing, knowing that, like, something as simple as if I do a custom connector for this action, or if I use a simple agent flow, because I want to do a HTTP request and it's just one, should I just do a agent flow and connect it? I just use Copilot credit, do the agent flow, send the push request, that's all. Or would I need a custom connector for that action? I think something that's very important is the basic fundamental knowledge of the different tools.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a MCP saver? What's the difference between custom connectors, Power Platform connectors, Microsoft Foundry models, and when do we use them? When do we call them? Even prompts, you might be saying that you want to connect to an MCP saver and a simple prompt, you might want to add a tool, because we go to the tool place and we see all the possible Microsoft tools. Extract data. Do you really need that tool to extract data, or can you write a prompt that will extract the data for you?
Yeah.
So it's just like having an understanding of the various tools. Then you now know the best possible way to implement those tools and the best way to actually use the tools. So that's the way I see it. It's like knowing the basic of the tools you are using, knowing in what way should you use one, and that builds the foundation for the solutions we are building. That builds the foundation of it, ensuring that, oh, this is what we are doing. Because if you skip understanding the tools, if you just want to just start building, you will end up like me spending hours and not knowing why. Yes, you will end up like me not knowing why it's failing. But it's because you're able to take a step back and say, am I using the right model for this?
Yeah.
And even as simple as you can build a full AI solution and you are calling a child agent, or you can say the HRO resume reader. Imagine it was a bigger part of a big HRO solution, and a you want to call an extended agent, the extended agent might be using Claude while your main agent is using GPT. That way, you're able to get the benefit of Claude and GPT.
Mm.
So if you did not even know that there's a difference between what these two models can do, you would think every single part of your process needs to use the same agent.
Yeah.
Even as simple as prompts, the models we use for prompting, they are different. While generating a prompt, you can actually call an Azure Foundry model.
Yeah.
If you don't know that, you might build a main agent that you are using GPT-5, and maybe you don't need GPT-5 for everything. Maybe you just need it for a small subsection. So that way you can use it in just the prompt section. That is why the basic, I always talk about the foundation and understanding. If you understand the basic, you can always build on that. And based on this understanding of basic foundation and all that, I want to ask Kayode, what would you say to someone that is nervous about GitHub or those reward tools? Because I've been mentioning GitHub, Cloud, models,
Yeah.
and somebody's like, "What's all this?" I want you to like, what can you really tell us about it? How can we embrace it? How can we approach it? Some people some people they've been and get the benefit of these tools that we're talking about.
Yeah, and this same question you've asked is been on my mind for a long time, especially with all this AI stuff coming
Yeah.
up and how important things like GitHub are getting to be, especially for local developers. So, as a side, I've been putting together a session which is called GitHub for Local Developers. I might actually have it like an online event. I think I'll just give that a try. I'll just create an
Okay.
event, go on LinkedIn, just advertise it on LinkedIn and see who is going to be interested in it, because I think especially local developers should start learning things, hit up for a minimum, right? There are possibly lots of other pro development tools that are
Tools.
becoming more relevant, but I'll say as a bare minimum, GitHub. And I'm not a GitHub expert, man. There's so many things in GitHub. There's so many things in GitHub. As part of this GitHub app I talked about, that I was one of the early testers of the app. Loads of features they talked about, things that the app can do that I don't even know what it means. And to an extent, it's still fine because I'm not a pro code developer. So going back to the first conversation, right, about whether the lines are getting to be blurred, I feel like it will still take a while before I use all the available features on GitHub
Tools.
because of the way I develop normally, right? But rather than being scared of the whole thing, I can just focus on the bits that I need to optimize my flow, to optimize my process. And you find that out in a lot of things you do. Microsoft Word, there's so many things that Microsoft Word can do. But if you probe it, you probably find out that you've not used a whole lot of the tools, because those tools are relevant for the people that need them. So what you just need to think of is, what are the things that I need? And which is why I'm thinking of doing GitHub for local developers, which will just focus on the things that local developers need
Developers need.
to augment their processes. So I probably will not go into all of the features of GitHub, because if I do that, I'll quickly lose you, right? I myself, I don't know all of the features of GitHub, but the ones that I need to make my processes better, I will focus on them, and I will learn them and find ways to integrate them in my day-to-day workflow. So I feel like that's the way to do. And while you were talking the other time about knowing about the breadth of things, the different tools available, what their distinction is, I was just thinking, and I'm going to put this to you live here on this session. Do you want us to create a series talking about the different tools
Different
available
tools.
and what they are for? How is it relevant to you? How can you integrate them in your workflow? I feel like that would be more hands-on, more practical, more
Yes.
demo-ish. But
Yes.
I almost feel like we should do something like that. It can
Something
be
like
a
that.
repository for people
I
to
totally
go to.
I totally agree with that because it's so beautiful when you understanding of the tools. Because People will keep on saying MCP forever, and you're just there like, MCP, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
But like when you now know that, oh, that's what they are talking about. Oh, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah.
We can even do 2 tools in a day, in a session, so that people can get more value. I'm totally, that would be really amazing.
You don't have to go into all of the
All
behind
of
the
them.
scenes technical
No,
architecture, because I've
no.
watched a couple of things on MCP and they're telling you,
The beauty of working with Microsoft is amazing. So
yeah,
Microsoft is like, we've handled all that for you,
yeah,
except you are connecting to a
yeah,
custom MCP that has not been exposed by Micro. And even if you're connecting to a custom MCP, like a new MCP, the process is simple. It is add a new MCP. They show you, it's a prompting. They prompt you like, oh, so put this now, so put that now. That's why I like Microsoft. Because even me, when I was watching the videos on MCP, they would explain how to design it. I did not come here to design a MCP. I promise you, I am not designing a MCP. I just want to connect one. And so,
mhm.
yes, I think we could do a, and because we are local developers, we know what we really want. We don't want to
That's the
watch
thing.
3 hours video on designing an MCP or how to use Azure AI search, and we are 2 hours deep and usually
We'll
even connected to the AI search. Yes, I think we should do that. That would be very cool.
take it as an action.
Yes,
We'll find the time to do it. I feel like time is the enemy.
yes,
We will surely find something. And still on the topic of upskilling, so far,
yes.
how have you been keeping up? How have you been keeping up with AI? How have you been keeping up with learning, upskilling? Are there new ways you are upskilling different from the way you used to upskill
So,
before? What does staying on track with all of these changes mean?
so for me, because I know how fast the industry is moving, if you go for 1 week, you will come back and in 1 week time they're telling you there's something new. So what I've been doing now is I've been like my Udemy hours has tripled. What am I? Am I saying tripled? Like the hours I've spent on Udemy. And the reason why I love Udemy. This is not a sponsored ad for Udemy. Maybe Udemy will sponsor us in the future.
I
But the
mean,
reason why I love Udemy so much is that it's like a detailed 4 hours. You could just give 4 hours and they would be explaining a concept for you. And so
yeah,
they're able to break it down and there's no rush. You so for me, I'm just like, if the only thing I understand today is everything about connectors in agent, I'm good. If the only thing I understand today is everything about creating a topic on agent, I'm good. And so what I'm doing is I'm always on LinkedIn because people are posting news. But with people always posting, you need to filter what you're taking in because it's happening in real world. Most of the things are in preview. And we know that most items that are in preview will not go to GA. That's another one. So if you exert your energy in checking every single thing on preview, it will not get to GA and you might become tired. Find what actually interests you, what is unique to you. And if the only thing you want to understand is everything about agent connections, everything about building a good foundation for agent solution, just focus your energy on that. Go to a Udemy. There are so many Udemy courses. I do Udemy. Just open Udemy and I follow it. And I'm able to, if I stop today, I wake up tomorrow, I continue from where I stopped. Then also, the benefit of always checking what is in now is that things change. So some of the videos on Udemy, they might have been made 3 months ago, and 3 months time, Microsoft has also changed what we are doing now. Or for example, I remember when I first started doing my Copilot Studio course at all, and what they where they were even the position of most of the things. For example, if you started doing Copilot last year, you know that where we were having knowledge source was different from where we have it now. It's not
yeah,
like in the Copilot overview. So if you are watching old Udemy videos, you might be asking yourself, but where is this now? So that is why you should not read in isolation. So that's why you should never really do one source. So there is Udemy, and then there is, let me see on LinkedIn, what are the developers looking at? And there are also top voices in the Power Platform community that always test out these items on preview. And so when the items come out, they test it out and they drop videos on it. They drop articles on it. Reading those articles, reading Microsoft articles. Microsoft actually has their YouTube channel where they release videos weekly on the updates on Power Platform, on the updates on Copilot Studio. You can keep up with that. So for me, what interests me currently is about building connected agents, building agents as a solution, as a whole, and the agents I have already built before. How can I optimize it and how can I make it better? So if Microsoft is saying the agent you've built before We now need to build them as a workflow system. I say, cool. That is a feature I like. I'm going to pick that. If Microsoft is saying that the agent you built before, did you know that you can change the models now? You can update the models. I said, I need to pick that. So finding what interests you and reading up around it. So when you're reading up around it, watching videos, reading articles, doing Udemy courses, it's no longer work to you. It's not something that you is fun and enjoyable because you genuinely like it. Another thing is that do not feel overwhelmed, because when you now sit down and hear people talk about all the amazing things they are doing, and you're just there thinking, I only spent 4 hours. Yeah, but you spent 4 hours on doing what excites you, what is good. So I think you should take it in that way. Watch Udemy videos. Udemy did not pay me. Watch YouTube videos. Checked on LinkedIn. There are top voices in Power Platform that are always showing us what is happening. Check it out. And also play around with these things. Because you could watch as much video as you want. If you do not practicalize it, if you don't practice in your own environment, you would forget. You would remember it would just be a shiny thing that you saw that you'd be like, I want to do it. But no, on your spare time, work around with these workflows, build around them, try and do something around it, because there's no going back really. We just need to, the system is moving. AI is going at a extremely high pace. There's no going back now. We're ahead. So you either move with the flow or you get left behind. And then this leads to my next question. Looking ahead, because I'm saying it's moving, there's no time to go back. Do this boundary between low code and pro code actually even matter? Do you think we really like the future we are looking at? There will be labor now. Where is this evolution taking us? Will this evolution mean that there will be pro code developers, low code developers, or will there be a final evolution whereby we don't really care about the difference?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. And I will almost say that we are already in that future you're talking about. And we have been in that future you're talking about for a while now. Because when you look at the history of development, right, it was all pro code. And pro code was the way any sensible enterprise will go. Any enterprise that wants things to be done properly, that they want something enterprise ready. Back in those days, pro code will be the right way to go about it, because a lot of the low code tools were not enterprise grade, if you get what I mean.
Yes.
But the reason why I say that we are already in that future is we have very important organizations, very important banks, multi-billion dollar organizations using
Yes.
low code developed tools, and they're using it to support their day-to-day operations. So we're already in that future where low code is as important as pro code. Now, looking ahead, will there be a merging? I really don't think so. What we're going to have is we're going to have a situation where we're using a lot of common tools, but is a pro code developer is a local developer. I think trying to merge those two groups of people is going to be very problematic, because there are two different ways of thinking. A local developer is trying to basically, what local developers do is they leverage tools created by a pro code developer. So I feel like pro code will always be that
Pro
foundation.
code.
Then low code is like, well, I've built a solid platform for you. You can take this and build on top of it. So if you look at what's on the Power Platform now, a lot of the things that local developers do, they're restricted to what the platform offers, right? Except you now start going into pro code to do some additional customization. But if you're to keep things code completely low code, you are restricted to what the platform offers you.
Does.
So that's a kind of thinking. I say all of that and I look at it, I'm like, well, we're having low code developers writing actual code now. So will there be a merging? And I'm thinking as I speak, right? Will there be a merging? I still don't think there'll be a merging. A local developer writing pro code is still a local developer, it's not a pro code developer. This is a very problematic question.
You should see my face.
And you can see me losing it right now,
I
just
said,
thinking.
I am a pro code, but you know what? I actually believe you, because one thing I learned over the last 2 weeks is that the thing about low code and pro code is our foundations are totally different.
Right.
Is that a low code developer is coming? We were told the way for us, there's an easier way for you to build. You don't
Yeah.
have to go through the rigorous process of building with code. So I think that thinking is always going to be there. We are building in an easier process. Cause I sat down on a call with somebody and they said, "Oh, you think with local developers is they do not understand the foundation of pro code, and so they don't build for scalability." And I asked the person to explain, and they explained it, and I was like, "Oh yes, I see what you mean." So because Proco developers go through different trainings,
Hmm.
the foundation of what they are taught is different, and the foundation of what local developers are taught is different. We will forever build differently. But the only good thing now is that even in Pro code, there are still some principles that local developers use that they're able to steal. And this is the first time in a while that local developers are able to take so much principles from Pro code developers. We are saying, wow, we love your ALM process. Why don't we take that? We are
Yeah.
saying we love your usage of specific tools and special tools. Why don't we take that? I think there will always forever be a distinctive difference between the low code. Never say never. Maybe we'll become
Yeah,
one
I
family in
think
the
that's
future.
that.
That's the thing.
I
Never
I
say never. We could
look,
be this. We could be one.
I was stuck in a loop. That moment when you're watching Copilot talk to itself. I know, but what you said is
What you
that's
sure in
literally
3 years' time the lines will not be
yeah,
blurred?
that's
So
literally the loop I found myself.
you guys should tell us what you think. Do you think the lines
Yeah,
will be blurred in 3 years' time? Do you
yeah,
think in 3 years' time there will be no difference? Because it's also very funny is that how we talk about pro code and low code so much. 5 years ago, most pro code developers had to write their code from scratch, and we're in 2026. And some pro code developers, they don't have to do that. All they need to do is put an
yeah,
prompt
yeah,
and their code is being generated. All they need is oversight.
yeah,
So I'm like, if you put a prompt to generate, it's more you see this low code principle I told you we were taking, because what local developers were doing was there are tools that we use to build applications. We don't
yeah,
have to write code.
yeah.
And now pro code developers are saying there are prompts that we write that we use to generate code.
Yeah. You see why
Do you
I
see?
just named it right.
Either generating lines of code, hundreds lines of code that they would have written before. So what now makes a pro code developer now makes a low code developer at this point? Because if you say writing code, I go to VS Code, I do go there, I give prompts and it gives me output. So the lines are really blurring. You see?
I think that's the conclusion.
That's the
The
conclusion.
lines are blurring. But well, I don't know. I don't. Do you want to be a Proco developer?
I don't know. I've always now the lines are blurring. I'm like, I do both.
Well, yeah. I
They
just want
tell
to
us
build
both.
solutions.
We just want to make people's day-to-day life better. Whatever you call us low code, actually use organizations appreciate and makes the day-to-day life of people better. That's the foundation. Is that
Yeah.
I build a solution that makes the turnover for a company better, that makes the HR manager work better. In as much as we get to make the organization work better. Call me low code, call me pro code, call me no code. I'm there. I answer it.
Yeah, because as you say that, even pro code, a lot of the things the edge low code had over pro code, talking about
Yes.
speed, those things are already in pro code now too. So
Yes.
more reason why it feels like there's that merge.
Is that
Because I
major?
know someone who previously used to do a lot of pro code and now he
Yes.
says he can build projects way much quicker than before, leveraging
Wow.
AI tools. So yeah, pro code is the new low code.
Focus is a new low code. And that leads us to our last segment for today, which is a new segment, and it's cap or fact, where we share one fact or cap and the other person has to debunk it. So my fact or cap for the week is drumroll. Power Platform has 56 million active monthly users. Kayode, do you think is a fact or a cap?
56 million
Yes.
active monthly
Active.
users.
What do you think?
Over I've seen these statistics, and I almost feel like 56 million is not a very recent statistics. I almost feel like it should be more than that now.
So are you going with cap or fact?
Well, how do you know how
Well, just say, do you want to do cap
active?
or fact?
Let's see. I feel like it should be more than 56 million. And if we get this right, if we get wrong, somebody that has the latest data, please correct us. I will
So
go with that because I feel 56 million is a bit outdated.
okay.
I feel like
So
I've seen that some years ago.
let me go. Okay.
So
So it's
that's a
actually a fact.
fact. Hmm.
Power Platform has 56. Yes, I know, right? Power Platform has 56 million active users monthly, and that grew from 20 million in 2021. So 2021 we had 20
Okay.
million active monthly users, and in now we have 56. So Power Platform has
That's
almost tripled the
amazing.
number of users. That's pretty amazing if you ask me.
That's
Like
amazing.
that's more than double, yes. So do you have a fact or cap for us, Kayode?
So I have one, and
Okay.
so here's my
Mm.
factor cap. In the last 28 days
Yes.
on GitHub, 80% of the code written, no, 80% of the additions and deletions to
Yeah.
repositories have been by AI agents.
I
20
do
days.
not want to believe. I do not want to believe that that's cap. You have that has to be cap.
Why do
That
you think
has to
it's
be
we're in the AI
80%.
world of AI revolution?
Okay. Tell me that, please.
Yeah, it's a cap. It's a cap.
If you said 60, I'd have come.
I guess planes were falling from the sky.
Yeah. I was scared. I was like, 80. I was actually tempted to say like, but I was like, nah, that number is too high. That
Cool,
number.
cool. So that's
But this was a fun
that's
one.
1-0.
That's
But
1-0.
we'll
Let's see,
keep
keep the
on,
score.
yeah, we'll keep the
Nah,
scores over
let's keep the score
over the
next time.
year.
Yes, and see who wins.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Yeah,
That's
that brings us to the end of the episode today. I hope you found it
yes.
interesting. Wherever you're watching this episode from or you're listening to it from, give us a review, give us a like, subscribe. We just want to get that conversation going. I think earlier there was a question about what the future of development will be. Are we going to have, is low code and pro code going to be the same thing? Or will there always be a clear distinction between local developers and pro code developers?
We are happy to see your video suggestions. What topic would you like us to discuss next? What would you like us to go over? Please like, please share, please drop your comments. And time for me, it is bye.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.